Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching this video from. My name is Achieng. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today's video, I'm going to share a very simple, easy, quick recipe that I use to make my rosemary potatoes. I prepare potatoes in different ways, but for this video, I'm going to show you how I make the rosemary potatoes very quick and the spices that I use. So these are the ingredients that I use for this recipe. I use the potato, the Yukon Gold potatoes. I think you can use any potatoes. I do not see an issue with that, but for this particular video and recipe, I'm using this type of potatoes. And then of course, rosemary. These are dried rosemary. You can have the natural rosemary, the fresh one, and of course it will add more flavor to it. So if you had that, awesome. And then paprika, I use this in everything, but for this recipe it's going to add more smoky flavor to the potatoes and also kind of help with the color. Potatoes are very blunt. Potatoes depend on the recipes that you add, so that is why it's up to you to really bring the life and the flavor out of the potatoes without overpowering it. And then I have cayenne pepper. I love spicy food. And then Cajun Creole spice, slap your mama. I use it in everything. I love it. And also black pepper. And I'm going to add some chicken bouillon. And then if the spices combination it's not too salty, then I'll add a pinch of salt. So I always reserve the salt for the last part because I need to make sure that I'm not overpowering it or it's not too salty. So what I'm going to do first, I am going to prepare. Some people use the skin. I am not going to use the skin for this recipe, but to each his own. So I'm going to remove the skin, and then in a separate bowl, I'm going to prepare. I usually make a mixture of the spices, and then I add oil and I place it on our baking bowl. I'm going to bake this. I'm going to roast them in the oven. I'm not going to air fry them today, but that's how I'm going to prepare them in this video. So guys, if you have not subscribed, please feel free to subscribe and click on the notification button so you can be alerted every time we have a new video. And thank you so much for every viewer that have been subscribing. You've been watching our videos, the comments. I love you guys. I'm so grateful. Thank you. So before I go too far, let's go ahead and remove the skin and then proceed to the next steps. So I was able to remove the skin. So what I'm going to do next is to cut our potatoes into pieces. This is where you can get, you can get creative and cut them in different shapes or slices. I'm just going to cut them in this shape and size. You're more than welcome to just do it a different way. So I'm just going to cut them in those pieces. Since this, I'm going to be eating it as a side dish, I'm happy with the size that I'm cutting them into. And then the last one, for this recipe, I'm just using 2 large Yukon Gold potatoes. And as I'm cutting them, it's releasing some starch, so I'm going to clean them again. And then also I want them as dry as possible because I'll be adding some spice to them, and I do not want any water. Set this aside. And this will be the bowl that I'll be using to roast them in the oven. So I'm not going to use the bake knob. I'm going to use the roast. So here with my oven, it calls it broil, I believe, but broil, roast, they are similar. So as you can see, they're pretty dry. I'm just using a paper towel. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to dump them in our roasting bowl. I'm going to use another paper towel to try and remove all of the liquid that we do not want. And voila. I used this size because I knew I was not going to bake a lot. So now on to the fun part. I have my bowl here that I'm going to use as my spice mixture. Grab some oil, and I'm also going to grab some garlic, and so that it can add flavor to this. So what I'm going to begin with is my dry ingredients. The rosemary. Rosemary is the show of this dish, so I'm going to use 2 teaspoons. Going to use about 1 teaspoon of chicken bouillon, about half a teaspoon of black pepper, good amount of rosemary. We want that smoky flavor. A pinch of cayenne pepper, not a lot. And then I'm going to be gentle with the slap your mama because the chicken bouillon has some salt to it. So I'm going to add the oil, the garlic, and taste it and see where the salt level is, and then proceed accordingly. So this is our dry ingredient. I'm going to add oil, about half a cup of oil, I would say, or almost half a cup. Just mix it really well. And since we are roasting this dish, you want to be generous with the amount of oil because you want all of your potatoes to be covered with all of the spice. The oil is going to act as the liquid agent. That's why you want to be generous. Going to add a teaspoon of garlic, crushed garlic. Make sure everything is mixed well. Now I can taste the salt level. Okay, the salt is okay. Also, since this is a side dish, you do not want it to be too salty, remember, because your main dish will have salt in it. Taste again. Yep, That is a good amount of salt. I'm happy with that. Just a little bit. And I can already taste the rosemary in it. This is so good. So I'm going to let this sit for just a few minutes. Just a few minutes. I really want the rosemary to kind of release its flavor to the oil. So I'm just going to let it sit for about 5 minutes. So we have our potatoes cut into medium small size, and we have our spice blend right here. As you can see, we have let it sit for about 5 minutes so that the rosemary can release its flavor into the oil. And now all we have to do is marry this two together. So our rosemary has been sitting for quite some time, about up to 4 minutes, 5. So what I'm going to do, I am just going to spread accordingly. Make sure we do not waste any of the ingredients. And gently just mix, making sure all of our potatoes are covered. Perfect. So you can see I'm just taking my time just to make sure all of the pieces are literally covered well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start warming the oven so it can warm up, and as that happens, I'm going to let this sit because I want to make sure that all of the potatoes are coated with our spice mix. And then before I place it into the oven, I am going to turn these potatoes again just to make sure everything is covered so that by the time I place it in the oven, I do not have to worry to keep on turning it. But as you can see, all of our potatoes are covered with the blend. And finally, this is how our rosemary potatoes looks like. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Do not forget to subscribe. And as you can see how beautiful they came out. This is an amazing recipe. It is so easy to replicate. So do not forget to subscribe to our video channel, and let me know what you think. Until next time, bon appetit.